I want to start with us noticing the space together between words. And as we sit together for a moment, whether eyes opened or closed, as we sit together for a moment, you can notice that we don't have to manufacture the space between words. We don't have to bring it into being. It's just there. And even with my speaking, you notice there's just the experience of space. By space, I mean a kind of gap, I mean a kind of silence, even in between the words I'm using, my spoken voice. And we're so used to having all of our attention on the words, the spoken voice, Um, we're taught that, right? And that's important. You go to school, you're taught to listen to the lecture and these kind of things. But it's also important, something we're not often taught is that the space between the words is extraordinarily significant, although it doesn't seem to be just at sort of first glance. All forms of deep contemplation, of course, deep meditation, is in essence a kind of attending to, noticing, being aware of the space and the silence between the words, whether the words are like mine are audible words, or even the words of the mind stream, the words inside your own mind. There's space between the words, whether they're words I'm speaking or the words in your own mental space. And part of practice, or maybe the most essential part of the foundation, let's say, of spiritual practice is attending to the wordless. There's something about attending to the wordless that, as I said, at first glance, it doesn't seem to offer much. It just seems to be a little moment, a blip of quiet. But in those blips of quiet and the willingness to attend to the silent spaces between words, even between one feeling and the next, one wave or ripple of emotion and the next. This is sort of the heart of contemplative practice. This gives us access to the deepest, deepest realms, to the very ground of the psyche, the very ground of our being. And please understand that we're not making any attempt to stop thinking, stop the mind stream. In fact, part of the practice of this kind of meditation, let's say, part of the discipline of it is to not to not try to control your mind. This isn't an exercise in control or what I call as manipulation, right? It's leaving your thoughts alone, almost having an attitude that they're noise, like traffic noise or the wind through the trees noise or the noise of like a dog barking, and there just happens to be this noise inside your own mind of thoughts occurring, and that also the associated feelings, emotions. It's just it's part of life, you know. It's nothing's meant to just stop and uh, it wouldn't even be really natural for our mind just to stop thinking forever. That's not the goal, of course, but sometimes the way people are trying to meditate, you would think that that was the goal, but so we're not trying to force anything. So notice in yourself right now if there's any that momentum, that tendency to try to force something a little bit or control your experience unnecessarily, right? Or strive for some idea of how your experience should be. They're all forms of just be on the notice, the lookout for any form of unnecessary effort. When you notice that effort and feel that effort, because effort will always be an embodied experience. There's often a kind of tension in the body when we're efforting more than is necessary. It's not that we're looking towards the opposite of effort, which is complete effortlessness. We're not trying to do the opposite of effort because there is a kind of effort to attend to the silence. It's not a striving effort, it's not a grasping effort. It's just a kind of intention, a decision, you might say, to attend to the space between thoughts, just for a moment. And not just noticing the space between thoughts, and I might also add the space around thoughts, because when you get the feel, literally the feeling, it's almost like a feeling in your body of just a moment of a little space between one thought and the next. When you get the feeling of that, you can notice that sense of the feel, the kinesthetic sense of the space or the silence, that still maintains itself even when, like, you can hear my voice or when you think the next thought. It doesn't actually make the space go away. It doesn't actually make the silence go away. It's just a thought arising within silence or a feeling arising within silence. So we're just noticing the silent spaces inside, as I often like to say. We're not trying to push away thoughts. We're not trying to push away feelings. We're not trying to push away emotions, right? We're not trying to force anything out of our experience. We're actually just leaving them alone for a moment, not indulging, not willingly, willfully thinking or feeling for a moment, but we're just allowing all of your experience, whatever it may be, to have the space to exist in. And it's curious that when you grant everything in your experience the right to exist, and I mean that quite literally, you grant it everything has the right to exist. Why? Because it is existing. It's very simple. But something about granting it the right to exist, which means you're not trying to change it, force it out of your consciousness. You're not manipulating it. You're just, okay, everything gets to exist. And something about that little attitude change, that that gesture of sort of compassionate allowing allows you to notice the space around what's happening. Sometimes people, when they get a little sense of the space or the quiet around things and within things, they go, "Oh, it's like something you've discovered, You've got like a little toy for Christmas," and they try to grasp at it or hold on to it. But see, the grasping becomes more noise. So this isn't a quiet or space that you can hold on to. It would be like trying to hold on to the air in the room. You can't hold on to it. But if you just stop trying to grasp anything, well, there it is.